This is a very short video to help you with multiple choice style exams, or those exams we call objective based testing, where you might have sequencing, you have to put things in the right order, or assertion reason, where you have to decide if a statement is correct, the assertion statement, and then if the reason statement explains it, or matching questions, where you have to match a description with some kind of term. I want to go over 5 basic tips that I think will keep you sane during this period. The first is time. The key thing with time is you have to calculate how much you've got. Candidates who fail exams usually fail because they haven't answered all of the questions. I often see this when I see exam results, in that they've scored very highly in the first few questions, but then their marks have tailed off and they've scored almost nothing or nothing at all in the last question or two. And that's because they never got to it. It's not as if they suddenly knew something about the first few questions and nothing about the rest. It's simply that they didn't manage their time. So divide up the available time by the number of questions and stick to it. If you've got a scenario to read, to use in the answers for the question, allow a few minutes for that, but be quite tough with yourself. Look at where you are a quarter of the way through the exam, halfway through and 3/4 of the way through, and make sure you're keeping up the pace. Don't linger unnecessarily on questions. If when you come to the end of the exam you've got lots of time left, don't try and go over the whole thing all over again. Target your effort. Go back over some of the questions you were most concerned about and see, as a result of answering all of the questions, whether some of the later questions provided answers or ideas about what some of those more difficult ones were about. But don't waste time, answer all of the questions. The second thing that I want to talk about is practice. Sample papers are incredibly useful because what happens with practice is that you build confidence. You build familiarity with the question types. They become normal to you, not unusual, so that will lessen your stress during the exam. The other thing you can do with sample papers is practice some of the techniques that I'm talking about in this video. Also with sample papers, don't obsess about the scores. You're not taking them under exam conditions, so you haven't got all of the adrenaline rush that will probably help you during the live exam. Do take note if there are areas where you're really struggling to get the marks, but other than that, don't punish yourself. Use them for what they are, which is practice and familiarity with the question types. Next thing you've got to think about is control. The thing about exam papers is that we're not in control. The examiner set the questions, and in the case of multiple choice type answers and sequencing and matching, the examiner has set the answers as well. How do we get back that psychological control that calms us down? Well, one of the easy things to do, if you've got a paper-based question paper, is write on the front of it some of the key things you remember at the beginning of the exam. Write some lists, draw a few diagrams of things you really know about, because that will put you back in control. It will help you remember that you do know stuff and that actually this is going to be fine. The other thing about control, which is easy to say but hard to do, is ignore everybody else. There might be somebody next to you who's racing through the paper, but they could well be getting things wrong. They're probably not using their time effectively. They're just trying to get as many questions done as possible and not giving it the right amount of time. So just ignore other people and concentrate on your own technique. Lastly, there are 2 more bits to this. One is the actual questions. Now, with examiners, the point about the question is that the clue to the answer is in the question. The situational reference is in the question. For example, if the question is about presenting something to senior management, the question might refer to a business issue or a technical issue. That's the situational reference, and that gives you a clue whether you should be looking for business-related answers or technical-related answers. So that will help you immediately sift out which of the answers are definitely wrong and which of them might be right. The other thing about looking at questions is to underline key words and phrases. if you just skim read the question, that your eyes will be travelling so much faster than your brain can process the words, and you're not taking in all of the information. You slow yourself down when you underline key parts of the question and you allow those phrases to sink in, so you can find those situational references so much more easily. And connected with this, and the last thing, is about answers. Now, with multiple choice, all of the answers are set out for you. It's the same with the assertion reason questions or the matching or the sequencing questions. The secret is to look at the question and work out for yourself what you think the answer should be, and then go and look for that matching answer in the available options, rather than reading the question and then looking and thinking, oh, I wonder what the options are. It's far more targeted, far more likely you'll be successful if you look for the answer that you are sure is the right one. So take a few seconds to work out the answer and then look for the matching one in what's available. And that way you'll find that so much easier. I hope this helps.